You're listening to the Fitzy and Whipper podcast.
We are celebrating the life of Queen Elizabeth II this morning. 3:30, we received the news that she had passed away, and one man who had worked for the royal family as a butler for a very long time is Grant Harrold. Grant, you beautiful man. Thanks for joining us, mate.
Hi, how are you?
Mate, we always love to chat. You're a friend of the show. You're also a personal friend, and it's an honour to have you on the show. It would be better to be talking at different times or under different circumstances, but at the same time, we're celebrating the Queen today as we look back on her 70 years of reign.
Yeah, it's a bit of a. I think everyone over here is still in a bit of shock. Actually, I think even myself, I've just taken a break from doing interviews and just watching the news myself for the first time, and I think just a bit of a shock that this has actually happened. Because you know this day is going to come, and then suddenly here we are. You know, suddenly she's gone.
Obviously, you worked with the royal family and alongside, but had some personal connections within the royal family as well. We wanted to talk as we celebrate also. We were talking earlier about the dance that you once shared with the Queen. Can you talk us through that beautiful moment?
It's really funny because I've always been talking about this today, and so many people haven't heard the story, which I thought everyone would have by this point. But I remember when I was a youngster, I watched a documentary about the royal family, and there was a scene where you saw the Queen dancing. And I said to my late father, how do you get to dance with the Queen? How do you get to be around the Queen? And he said, you either marry into the family or you work for them. And I quite sensibly thought, who could I marry? And realised that obviously maybe wasn't such a clever move. Yeah. But then I wrote to the Queen. I wrote 2 letters to her. I even sent a picture so she knew what I looked like, and basically said, one day I will come to work for you. And obviously didn't quite happen like that because I went to be a butler for her son. But what's extraordinary is that about 11 years from the day of watching this programme, I was at the Balmoral Castle. I was in the ballroom. I was at the very same ball I'd seen in this programme. I was dancing with, as she was then, the Duchess of Cornwall. And when we were dancing, the Duchess said, "Oh, Grant, you look quite nervous. You look quite scared." And I said, because of this dream that I had when I was young, I said, here I am. And I said, I think I'm going to dance with the Queen tonight. And she said, there's 150 people in this room. It's highly unlikely the Queen will dance with you. At which point we finished dancing. The Duchess kind of made this sound as if, look, I thought I stood on her feet or something, and I looked down and I hadn't. And then I turned round and then I jumped and was like, and then behind was the Queen. And she put her hands up to dance and then went into a reel, and it was amazing. But she was just such an amazing character. I've got so many great memories with her, and I even remember one occasion. I can't remember what happened, but I even remember kind of running down a corridor with her.
Running down a corridor?
Yeah, I remember that one years ago, and I can't remember what I was doing, but I was doing something, and she started kind of running. Can you believe this? And so I was trying to keep up with her as we were running. And I remember thinking, nobody's going to believe that I've actually been kind of doing a kind of very fast walk/run with the Queen.
I don't think anyone's ever seen the Queen run.
Well, I have.
Wow.
And I tell you, it was a job to keep up with her.
I feel like, Grant, that she wanted... I mean, living in a bubble like that in the royal family and not being connected with... I mean, she went out and did engagements with the public. But, you know, you guys that were there with her the whole time, you would have seen a different side of her where she wanted to interact with you guys and have conversations. Did you have moments like that where she would just come over and chat to you?
Yeah, I remember being at Buckingham Palace at one of the garden parties, and she came over and she suddenly said, "Have you seen the flowers?" And we were kind of thinking, "Sorry," because she didn't expect the Queen. She said, "Have you looked at the gardens?" And we were like, "No, not quite." And she said, "Well, go over and have a look. Go look at the border. The roses are looking amazing. You've got to go and see it." And it was really funny because it was suddenly like, you know, you can't say, "Oh, I'll look later." I was like, "Oh, I have to stop and trot, in the direction the Queen points you." But no, there was many. I mean, I could probably bore you guys for hours with them. But I mean, there was many things that used to happen. I even remember once being in a horse on the Balmoral, always at Balmoral, weirdly, but the Balmoral estate, and I was riding this horse and came with a few others, and the Queen suddenly appeared, and one of us, for whatever reason, decided to bow on a horse, which is the most ridiculous thing. And she just stood there giggling at us, probably thinking, what a bunch of idiots.
That's amazing.
We looked like there was as if we had some sort of problems with it. We were walking almost falling off our horses.
Why are you trying to lean onto your horse? You're about to headbutt it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I love, Grant? Though, by the stories that you're telling, it sounded like there was obviously two sides to the Queen. There was the royal engagement that we all saw and what the press saw, but at the same time, she took comfort in familiar faces and people that she knew and rather enjoyed and almost saw you as an outlet to be herself for the way she engaged with you.
She was. There was two sides to her, two lovely sides, I should quickly mention. You know, obviously the side that we all know, we all see, we all love, which is the Queen. And then there was, I suppose you could almost say that Mrs. Windsor, you know, the kind of the behind the scenes, where she was just like everybody else. I mean, she has the same likes, dislikes, habits, you know, and also there is footage. I mean, you know, online there's this footage of her at different races and things, and you see her getting excited and kind of running around. And I also remember the first time I was officially introduced to her. So obviously I'd met her, but I hadn't been officially introduced. And the most bizarre thing was it was actually the Prince of Wales that actually introduced me to his mother, and it was at her 80th, I think it was her 80th party at Kew Palace for her 80th birthday or something. And I was busy actually 7 at the time, and it's the most awkward moment when in the middle of service you suddenly have an introduction. And I remember the Prince kind of turning around and saying, "Oh, you know, Mummy, this is Grant, one of my butlers." And she went, "Oh," and kind of looked around, and I suddenly thought, "Oh God, what do I do now? Drop the vegetables or keep standing there? You know, you don't know what to do." And she kind of you know looked at me and smiled and then started chatting to me, and the problem was I was so nervous and so overwhelmed with the fact the Prince was just introduced me to the Queen. She said something to me, and I think I literally went because I couldn't get my words out.
Amazing. You crumbled. I love that.
Good. Grant, so just before you go, Grant, what did she mean to you? I mean, we see, you know, being part of the Commonwealth, and she visited Australia numerous times, and we see, you know, we only see what we see on the television here, but you spent a bit of time with her. What did Queen Elizabeth mean to you?
Do you know, first I got mentioned, she loved the Commonwealth. I mean, she loved visiting other countries. You know that. I mean, at the amount of time she came over to Australia, she had a love for everything. And I got upset talking about this, but she meant a lot. You know, she was an amazing lady, and I feel really lucky to have had the honour of actually knowing her for part of her life.
Grant, the other thing too, I mean, from what I take and my understanding of her history, which is brief, but she was also one hell of a pillar of strength for everybody, sitting at the monarch there, and also the way she led not only the royal family, but England and the Commonwealth.
She is or was. She was a pillar of strength, and as you said, for the country, you know, when anything was wrong with those problems, you kind of turn to them. It's the most extraordinary thing, because, you know, over the years there've been discussions, as you know, they talk about, you know, one day will we have a monarchy, will we not? And the reality is that, especially with the Queen, I mean, I have no idea, obviously, long-term future, what's going to happen, but with the Queen, there was stability, there was security, and we always used to, I mean, you only have to see a few months ago at how the Platinum celebrations, and everybody just kind of there and chanting for her, and just wanting to get glimpses of her, and everyone saw her as basically as the nation's granny, you know, and you know we've now lost
our granny.
Well, we've literally lost the granny of the nation and the Commonwealth.
Well, Grant, we know how busy you are this morning, and we do have a great friendship with you, Grant, that we've had for many a years. We've celebrated at many a weddings, but now we mourn for the next 10, 12 days. We appreciate your time, Grant. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me on, and send my best wishes to your families as well.
Always, mate. Thanks for sharing. See you, buddy.
Take care.
You're listening to the Fitzy and Whipper podcast.